All right. So today I'm going to teach you guys how to do another type of meditation. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and hold on, I'm going to hide this. It gives me the captions and it's pause this for a second. All right. So this is a meditation I've been talking a lot about on Substack. It's an experiment I've been doing for the last couple of weeks now, and I continue to do it. So a couple of things to start. So this meditation is a little different because it isn't just closing your eyes and meditating. It's a kind of combination of um, projecting out into your consciousness. So it's kind of like scrying. And all right, sorry, distracted. Something came up here. All right, so this is a combination of a couple of meditations that I've taught already. So if you haven't done those other ones, I would suggest you trying to do those first before you try this one. Um, Before you begin this set of meditations, it's important that you do the golden bubble of protective light um, when you start out doing this. If you haven't done enough protection, um, it's a good thing to start doing. Okay, so that's one of the things that I think you should try before, get that kind of going. Do that on a regular basis before you attempt this. This meditation is a combination of that being in the power, sitting in the power, which is, and it's not exactly like that, where you take your orb that's inside of you, your spirit, and you grow it all the way out to the farthest reaches of the universe and pull it back to the creator, to the other side. And it's sort of like scrying, if you've ever done that. So scrying is kind of, looking at you can scry by looking at the clouds, by looking into a bowl of water, crystal ball. Scrying is just kind of, feeling or watching into something, pushing your consciousness into it and letting your third eye basically show you stuff and draw your attention to things. So it's hard to explain because this is a meditation where your eyes are open. And so it's not, if you haven't done enough meditation or you don't have a real strong um, visual kind of aspect to your psychic ability, it may not be as successful. You might get some feelings if you're clear sentient rather than clairvoyant. Um, but it's worth a shot anyway. One of the things you can do to kind of prepare yourself for this is you can kind of defocus your eyes, sit out side and look at the blue sky and let yourself kind of see these little tiny sparkles that you'll see. There was a psychologist who called it orgone. Uh, and he thought it was the energy of the universe or something. I don't know exactly what he thought, but he was uh he was the first to kind of try to experiment with it. I used to always think it was some kind of visual kind of effect on my eyes, but as I've been doing this, I don't think that's what it is. I think it is some kind of universal force energy, but I think it's actually sort of information that you're seeing kind of be sent back and forth. Like you're looking at the little lines of consciousness from the universe to us and us to it. And I think it sort of goes in every direction. And you'll start to see patterns in the movement. Like I noticed that there's one pattern that I can see when I look at this particular part of the sky where all of the little white sparks go in this really clear kind of direction. And there's all these sort of, it looks like pathways. So I think, and I feel like it's probably some kind of, like I said, interconnected web that connects us to all things, that gives us information. You get you sort of know things. I think it comes from this sort of interaction with spirit. And if you defocus your eyes and kind of focus on the blue sky, you'll see it. At nighttime is when you have to do this other meditation. So this meditation, I think it doesn't work as well in the daytime for a couple reasons. One is the calmness, the quiet of the night, and the night sky being dark, um, is an important aspects of this, so that you can throw your consciousness out and sort of focus more on the stars and past the sky itself. So what you do is you get into a sort of relaxed state of mind, and if you're not able to switch your kind of brainwave pattern quickly, what you can do is do a meditation beforehand, do the golden light, do some kind of breathing work. And then what you do is you open your eyes and you sort of stare into the night sky and reach your consciousness and your intention outward into the universe and ask very clearly in your mind that you get only the, things for your greatest good, beings who are here to help. So intercessor, I call intercessor beings, which is basically a blanket term for angels, ETs, interdimensional beings, anything that is here to sort of guide or help your spirit guides, be intercessor beings. It's not necessarily dead people, although dead people might show up. And that's happened to me. So what you do is you throw your consciousness out into the farthest reaches of the universe and just kind of visualize yourself kind of going through space and calling out to beings that will come here to help you to have greater understanding. And one of the things I've noticed, if you stare into the sky, what I've seen is those little lights that you see in the daytime, they're not as prevalent at nighttime. Maybe we can't see them as well because the sky is dark. But what I've noticed is you'll get those same little sparkles. They'll start to turn into like a circle, and you'll see the circle rotate and then kind of spin in an ellipse, and you'll feel sort of an opening. And, on different occasions, I've had different experiences. So I've had, um, that's how I ended up talking to Mary and her telling me about the bombing before it happened, of Iran. That's how I've gotten a lot of information recently that I've been talking about on Substack. And I have had angels come, I've had interdimensional beings come, and you can kind of have a conversation with them. Now, I wrote about one of the beings that dropped out of this circle. It was like a ball of light that came out and sort of landed and near me. And this being wasn't a bad being. It was just kind of a little bratty, I guess you could say, and impatient. Uh, and I talked about it on the Cosmic Fold, which we're going to do tonight. And this being, got impatient with me. I let him into my house. Um, and he bit my husband, which there is actual photographic proof, uh, which freaked my husband out. And I told my husband what happened, and he was not real happy with me. But I banished him. And so, because I do a lot of protection around my home, and I ask this being, "Are you here for my greatest good? Are you going to help me understand consciousness, the nature of consciousness?" Because I was writing a piece on that. And the being was like, "Sure." So, because I had let him into my home conditionally, it was very easy to get rid of him. All I had said was, "You didn't live up to your end of the bargain, get out of my house." So, I know he wasn't trying to hurt anybody, but he wasn't being respectful. So this sounds kooky, but you have to be very careful with whoever you're interacting with. Um, I know this from firsthand experience. When I was, I was born this way. Like, um, I don't know any other way to be. And when I was going through puberty, things got very escalated, and I started having experiences with things that were kind of scary. Um, I found that the only way I could get rid of this thing, so I prayed, I had rosaries around my bed. I was like, it's a whole thing. And I've talked a little bit about it, but I'm not going to go into total detail here because I've talked about it before. But what I found was I got really, really angry at the phenomenon because it was becoming really scary and overwhelming. Uh, and I mean, I couldn't sleep at night. Beings were coming to my room trying to take me out of my body, and I was fighting them off. And I was having, knowing, like, dreaming whole days before they happened, and answering the phone before it rang, and talking to people before they asked what they were going to. I mean, I was like, it was really weird, and it freaked a lot of people out. There was also a physical phenomenon that went with this, and it was pretty scary. Um, so I learned that I used to pray, please, Jesus, help me, God, please protect me. It didn't do anything. It just kept getting worse. And the time when I finally went like, fuck this, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And I got really angry. It completely kind of went and sort of dried up. And I have to say that that was a huge lesson for me, that we all have power. And if something is bothering you, the best way to get rid of it is to confront it with your righteous anger. Now, you don't have to be, don't be scared. Just be pissed and be like, you don't have any right here. You're not allowed to be in my space. Get away. And seems to be a universal sort of rule from what that I stumbled upon, that your intention, if it's strong enough, is all you need. Now, that is true for the most part. Now, if you live in a place or a space that has an attachment to the land or something else going on, that's a whole different story. And if your space itself is not safe, in terms of something was there before you, it's not so easy sometimes to get rid of stuff. So it's important, if you move into a new home, or if you do live in a home and you have phenomena, to do some saging, clearing out, and especially if you move into a new place, to do it immediately as you move in, and put salt in the four corners or around the home if you can, and secure the location as your space. Um, I was able to do that here, so I'm pretty. I feel very comfortable doing all kinds of experiments here. There have been other places that I've lived in where I don't think I would do this, because there's already emotional or negative energetic patterns that are in the air that, you know, if you can't clear them out, can be problematic. In those cases, what I did was I would leave my home, and I would go into a place. If the home itself had some kind of energetic thing that I couldn't totally clear out, I would go into, like, the outside area and do protection, do my work out there. I Even in those spaces where they were, as an adult, because as a kid, everywhere we ever lived had phenomenon, and I don't know if that's a coincidence or if that was just me, because I've never lived in a place that didn't have phenomenon happening. So even, we lived in almost all new homes when I was growing up. Yeah, I'm trying to think. The first place we lived in wasn't totally new, but it was built in the 60s, and we moved in there in, like, the early 70s. So it wasn't an old place, it was a townhouse. And then the house that I lived in for a little bit, my parents built. And then the other house we lived in was a new build as well. But there was always phenomenon in it. So even at my dorm room in Cal Arts, even at no matter where I've lived, there's been phenomenon. So I'm pretty certain it's me, but anything that's left over or lingering in the space, if it doesn't feel safe where you're at, don't do this. That's my one thing to tell you. You don't want to open yourself up if the energy in your space is negative. So um, if you do have a negative space and you don't feel comfortable there, you can go to a park and do the bubble of protection and try this there. So those are some things to think about. You do need to, you know, be skeptical of things that show up and ask those things or beings, are you here for my greatest good? Are you a good being? Are you here to help me? And if they lie, it's very easy to get rid of them. So so if you start to get a weird feeling about the situation, just tell it to go away. So I just wanted to make sure to give you the whole context so that you don't go experimenting with something and open yourself up to something that could be a trickster type of being or something that's just going to mess with you. You shouldn't have that problem setting your intention, as long as your intention is for the highest and greatest good for yourself and humanity and for this planet. Um, that should be enough, but you still have to be conscious and aware that just like if you walk down the street, most of the people you meet are going to be good, but you might run across a psychopath, right? So you have to always be as open as you can be, but also kind of aware that there are things that are devious out there. And they may not be entirely bad. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're just kind of like people. They just want to play. So don't want to dissuade you from your experiment, but just those parameters, do some protection, set your intention, make sure your space is in a safe and you feel safe and in a good, clear space before you do this experiment. So I would look forward to hearing what happens for you guys when you try this. So please, you know, email me, find me on Substack, and send me messages, make comments. Uh, I hope you guys all have fun like I have had a lot of fun with this. Blessings to all of you. Take care.